Hello and welcome to the new series of Drishti IAS. I am Pooja. In this segment today, we are going to deal with a very interesting topic and it relates to your examination. I'm just taking a wild guess that you're preparing for UPSC. So in this particular segment, we are going to talk about what is the issue with respect to the shortage of IAS, IPS and IFS officers and why they do not want to go on a deputation with the center. So this is the entire issue that we are going to deal with. Many topics we are going to cover. As you are preparing for this examination, you have to know about the history of All India services and the constitutional provisions related to it. Deputation of officers. Deputation means when for a specific period of time, a task has been assigned to an All India service officer, the person has to go with the center's directives and finish that task. So this is also we are going to discuss the trend. Are officers wanting to join the deputation or not? We will discuss that as well. Why is there a tussle? Why is there a tussle between the center and the states with respect to officers, All India service officers? The very famous case of West Bengal government versus the center over an IAS officer, that was also that we saw, is relating to this only. What can be the solution? And also we will discuss the steps that have been taken by the government, the center, to remedy this issue. And in the last of the segment, a mains-based question is given. The center versus state tussle over IAS postings. The problem arises from, first of all, there is a shortage of IAS officers and other officers as well of the All India service level. Okay. And second is, many of the officers do not want to go on a deputation. Deputation, whenever there is a need of a skilled officer with respect to completing a task that has been given by the center, and when the center needs such officers, they do not want to leave the comforts of their state and go on a deputation. This is not what I am saying. This is something that the center has painfully admitted that yes, this trend is being observed. Specifically, whenever any officer is asked to join the deputation in New Delhi, the fear, I wouldn't call it fear, I would call it the reluctance of the officers to go to New Delhi is something that is not new, but the proportion has risen over the years. So why? That will also be discussed. Moving on, let's talk about All India services. Whenever India needed in the colonial times high-skilled servicemen, high-skilled officers, they were basically patronized by the East India Company. The court of directors had a say in the recruitment of such officers. But in 1854, when Lord Macaulay's report of the Select Committee of British Parliament came into being, it suggested that a merit-based modern civil services should be there. That means whenever we are going to select an officer, it should be based on merit and not patronization, not recommendation from the East India Company. Then a Civil Services Commission was set up in 1854 in London. After that, what happened? That people from India, the Indians, they also wanted to give this examination. So they had to travel to London. Just imagine what kind of hassles they would take to just appear for this examination. And the competitive examinations were started in 1855. But we have to remember that this particular examination was biased and it was more inclined towards getting Europeans into services and not Indians. But somehow, in 1864, Sri Satyendra Nath Tagore succeeded. Sri Satyendra Nath Tagore succeeded despite the fact that the age limit was 18 to 23, the lower and the upper. Okay. And then after that, few Indians also got selected after Satyendra Nath Tagore. Then what happened? That there were pressures with respect to conducting the same examination in India as well. So in 1922, just imagine the time period gap. In 1922, the Indian Civil Services examination began to be held in India as well. Okay. And the origin of the public service, one thing that we have to keep in mind over here, that the first time ever the examination held in erstwhile Allahabad, now Prayagraj, and after that Delhi. Okay. The origin of the Public Service Commission in India is found in the first dispatch of the Government of India on the Indian Constitution reforms. So this need that for administration, for the proper administration of a country like India, of course we need Indians. So on 5th March 1990, it referred to the need for setting up some permanent office charged with the regulation of service matters. This came into existence, this concept came into being. Then on October 1st, 1926, Public Service Commission was set up in India for the first time, but it was not mentioned in the Government of India Act 1919. Remember that. This particular commission came into existence after tweaking certain clauses of the Government of India Act 1990, and that is regulated by the Public Service Commission Functions Rules 1926. Then after that, the Government of India Act came into being 1935, in which a Public Service Commission for the Federation was set up. Apart from that, a provincial public service commission for each province or group of provinces was also set up. Then on 1st April 1937, the Public Service Commission became the Federal Public Service Commission after India got its independence, after the implementation of the Constitution. This became the Union Public Service Commission, and the chairpersons of the erstwhile commission became the chairpersons and the members of the UPSC by amending the clause 1 of Article 378 of the Constitution. Just a gist of what happened with our UPSC. Then currently, you have to tell me in the comment segment first which part deals with all India services of the Constitution. Which part I asked. Okay. So Article 312 deals with all India services, and all India services is divided into Indian administrative services, police services, and forest services, among other services as well. And the center, under all India service, center I am saying, the Union government, under All India Services Act of 1951, it can regulate the recruitment. Recruitment is done by UPSC, and the conditions of service of person appointed to the All India service. So whenever you will get selected, that will be done by UPSC. The exam is conducted by UPSC, but the allocation of services is done by the Department of Personnel, DOPT, right? So this comes under the center, right? Then all India service officers are recruited by the Union government. Remember that. Who does the recruitment? Union government. But these services are allotted under various state cadres. Okay. So they are actually a feature that binds together the union and the states. Okay. Accountability is there because of this to serve both the state and the center. The cadre controlling authority of all India service is the Union government through the DOPT, Department of Personnel. So how does deputation happen? Generally, if we talk about deputation, whenever the center is having the task of fulfilling some sort of ambitions or commitments or targets, it asks for service officers, all India service officers, by the help of states. From the help of states, it gets an offer list. Okay. And before discussing this, we have to talk about the Indian Administrative Service Rules of 1954. This is the rule that deals with the deputation process under Article 6. Okay. Deputation of cadre officer, Article 6, Clause 1. A cadre officer may, with the concurrence, the word used here is concurrence. That means the agreement should be there of the state government and the central government, that which officer shall be deputed. So federal structure has been preserved by this particular rules. Okay. And or what has been written till here? The central government be deputed for service under the central government or another state government. So if any officer is needed in another state, that is also regulated by this particular rule. Or under company, association or body of individuals, whether incorporated or not, which is wholly or substantially owned or controlled by the central government or by another state government. So here the task can range from the group of individuals and any other subsidiary body of the government or any other union government or any other state government. So this is done by the Indian Administrative Service Rules of 1954. Provided that in case of any disagreement, if there is a disagreement, the matter shall be decided by the central government and the state government, again federal structure, or the state government concerned shall give effect to the decision of the central government. So any disagreement, if it is there, then proper consultation should be given, and after that, the state government is responsible for giving effect to whatever decisions have been undertaken. Okay. Now let's talk about deputation of officers. How does it happen, the procedure? So the center asks every year for an offer list of officers of the All India services. Okay. And what the word over here is, the officers who are willing to go. That means their agreement of the state, the center, and as well as the officer is taken into consideration to go on a central deputation, after which it selects officers from that list. The officer has to take no objection clearance from the state government, that the state does not have any objection with the upcoming deputation, and it cannot be more than 40% of the total cartel strength, the list I am talking about over here. Moving on, now let's deal with the trend. What is the trend? Let's talk about the trend with respect to vacancies. There are 263 vacancies for IPS officers in 17 central organizations, CBI, Central Armed Police Forces and Intelligence Bureau. That is a lowdown. Why? Because in order for these institutions to function efficiently, they need proper manpower. So that is the problem. Vacancies for IAPS officers in various central police organizations is 263. Then sanctioned strength of IPS officers in various central police forces organizations 656. This is with respect to police. IPS officers who have offered themselves for central deputation, only 3. That means there is something that is prohibiting them, or you can say the push. There are 2 factors, the pull factors and the push factors. If there is no push factor, the officer is happy in the state cadre, won't go to deputation until and unless there are strong pull factors, right? Sanction strength is around 4900, and you see that only 3 IPS officers opt for central deputation. What is wrong? Why they do not want to work with the center? After you go for deputation, the psychological satisfaction is a lot, right? Because you get to work on so many tasks, policy making on national interest, national security, environment, and you also might go to foreign countries to enrich your experience, enrich your knowledge to implement that experience in the country. But why do they not go? Because there is something wrong. Let us look at what is wrong. Before that, there is something wrong. Now let us look at this. This I've already talked about. CBI, Central Armed Police Forces, Intelligence Bureau are the main losers over here. Losers as in low manpower. Rank of DIGs is 94, the vacant one. SPs 137. Now by August 4, this is as of August 4, 14 IAS officers are posted in the Prime Minister's office from different cadres. Okay, so there are also, that means there is a need of officers at the central level, but nothing is being done. What is the issue? First of all, there is lack of incentive, because there is as of yet no reflection on center's ability or willingness to offer any sort of incentive to join the deputation. Rigor of the Government of India routine, because it is so rigorous, long working hours, also the need for extreme clinical care in the preparation and submission of report. It should be flawless, because sometimes it can reach as high as the post to the post of Prime Minister. That means the report can go to the Prime Minister directly. So that is also an issue. They're scared that what if some sort of flaw happens. Fewer creature comforts than what is available in the state environment. Again, home cadre or any other state cadre, if they find their comfort over there, the pull factors are not attractive enough for deputation. So these are the issues. Steps taken. So lateral entry was something that came into existence long way back, but its contribution with respect to private sector recruits is so marginalized that they are not able to make out as much difference as the other option could make. That means filling up of vacancies and getting more deputation from the main officers. So lateral entry refers to the induction of private sector specialists in government departments. Whatever specialists are working in the private sector, they have a task, they are recruited, and they have a task of completing any sort of ambition that the center has in its mind. So the period generally is for 3 years, but it can extend up to 5 years, and that is based on the candidate's performance. So deputation period is like that. In February, the Home Ministry amended the IPS tenure policy. The IPS tenure policy was tweaked in which it did away with the mandatory requirement of the empanelment of IPS officers at the DIG level. First that, and officers with minimum 14 years of experience will be eligible for appointment at the level of DIG by the center. This was something that was taken as a step to deal with the issue of vacancies in the police service. Then the Department of Personnel and Training, it proposed an amendment in January saying let's amend Rule 6, Deputy of Cadre, which we dealt with, the rules of 1954, and let's amend this in which the states, earlier it was stated that the concurrence of the state and the center is required, but the state are not sponsoring an adequate number of officers for central deputation. This was one of the reasons for the amendment. This is what DOPT said, that states are not getting the offer list very enriched with respect to who all can be a part of the deputation. This was the reason. Amendment was proposed, the amendments which were proposed. First amendment was with respect to the delay by the state. If the state is not preparing or not offering the list of the officers for deputation, and if the center has a certain number or a certain name in its mind with respect to the officers, and the state is delaying the implementation of the directive of the center, what will happen? Then that IAS officer or that IPS or IFS officer, whatever it is, whoever it is, they will be deemed relieved of their duty in the state. This was first. Second, the center will decide the actual number of officers to be deputed to the central government in consultation, not concurrence, but consultation with the state, and the latter should make eligible the names for such officers. Then in case of any disagreement between the center and the state, the final matter will be decided by the center. Earlier it was concurrence and consultation process. Now this was opposed because first of all it was said by the West Bengal Chief Minister that it is denting the cooperative federalism structure, because here the final authority lies with the center. What about the states? Second, it will weaken the states' political control over bureaucracy. That was the second point that was made. And if there is a tussle with respect to the officers, when the finality of the judgment will be done by the center, there will be cases in the judiciary with respect to that. So it will create avoidable legal and administrative disputes because it is pretty avoidable. The amendment makes center all powerful. That is why the center could weaponize the bureaucracy against the elected state government. That can also happen because here the crass politics will enter the bureaucracy by saying that okay, the final judgment is ours if you're going to work with us on the deputation or not. So it can result in weaponization of the bureaucracy. Vacancies should come into the picture. For that, proper revenue generation should happen so that salaries can be paid. Lateral entry, here more and more recruits from lateral entry can also be considered. First preference. Second, more incentives should be given to those officers who might not have very you can say strong push factors from their state, but pull factors, that means attractiveness of deputation, should also be reconsidered. How to make it more attractive? More incentives. Respect federalism. Concurrence with the state. Federal structure of the polity is a basic structure, and that should not be overcome by any sort of process in which the center becomes all powerful. Checks and balances should be there. Now let us look at this question. Discuss the causes behind the shortfall of IAS officers. For this is all India service officers for deputation at the central level, and what are the measures that have been taken by the central government to resolve it. So we have already discussed everything with respect to this question. Do practice it. And for those who are waiting for their names to be called because of the last question that I gave you, just wait for a demo. Tomorrow I will take your names. Okay. Thank you so much for watching.